So you just got Satisfactory on your PlayStation or your Xbox after seeing the game on PC for years. But what do you do now? In this video, I'm going to introduce you to Satisfactory so you can have a great start while not giving too much away, because there's plenty that you'll want to discover for yourself. Quick note for this video though, I don't own a PlayStation or Xbox, so the gameplay you'll be seeing is from PC. I also only have an Xbox controller for PC, so the controller buttons you will see will be from Xbox. So if they don't match what you see in your game, I apologize. Hopefully the controller button layout screen in-game can fill in the gaps. Also, I'm not really a controller player, so I'm sorry if my gameplay looks bad. Getting started. When you start a new game of Satisfactory, you'll be asked which starting location you want. There are 4 choices, each with different advantages and disadvantages. If you're brand new to the game, I would always recommend starting in the grass fields, as they have the best balance of everything and will offer you a comfortable start with easy routes to other areas when you want to branch out. Some players think that these choices are actually 4 different maps, but they're actually just 4 different locations on the same big map. There's only one map in Satisfactory, and you may run into the other starting biomes later in the game. The map was also built by hand, and there's no procedural generation or randomness, so all of the nodes are always in the same place every time you play the game. When you first land on the planet Massage 2 ABB, you will be given a fantastic tutorial to get used to the basics of the game. There's really nothing I could say in this video that would be more helpful than the actual tutorial, so definitely don't skip it. And yes, you do have the option to skip it if you're starting a new game but you've already played before. So if you ever do a second playthrough, you don't have to go through the tutorial a second time. As you progress through the basics, don't be afraid to step outside the boundaries of what the game is asking you to do if you feel like exploring or trying something else. There's no invisible walls or lockdown controls. You'll only be limited by what you haven't unlocked yet. So do your own thing if you want, but you'll eventually need to come back if you want to progress. But just take as long as you need on each step. After the tutorial. Progression is the name of the game. Everything you do will kind of be a more complex version of what you did before, with new requirements thrown in. For example, you start with constructors, which only have 1 material input. But then later you'll move on to assemblers, which have 2 inputs that make more complex items, and so on and so on. My biggest advice around progression is to not be afraid of upgrading, expanding, and tearing things down. Your first factories will be a mess, and that's okay. Embrace the chaos because it's only temporary. As you unlock things like concrete platforms, you might want to rebuild your factories, and you'll face the fear involved with tearing them down. But if you do that, your production will stop. Oh no! Well, it's not that bad. You're not really wasting time tearing down and rebuilding an old factory, because there are no survival elements or timers. There's no downside to starting over. And you definitely will want to, because everything you do to increase your efficiency will help you later. You're always working towards the next thing. But don't worry too much about getting things right away. At the start of the game, use what you have available and don't worry about specific ratios or perfect numbers. Just get something up and running and continuously improve it as you play. What's the point? So why are you here on this planet anyways? What's the gameplay going to be like? What's your purpose? Well, ultimately, you're progressing closer to your goal by delivering certain complex parts to the space elevator. These are components that aren't used for anything else, and they tend to use a lot of the research that you do in that tier of the game, serving as the ultimate representation of that stage. This is going to get harder as the game progresses, and you'll need to spend increasingly more hours and buildings on each tier to set up the required production lines, including increasing your power capacity. This game forces you to solve complex puzzles, but they are always satisfying. And every tier comes with a new, unique puzzle you have to solve with different tools, while also not being all that unfamiliar. Expanding. After getting your initial base established, you'll need to expand further, not just because you want to, but because you have to seek out new materials. When you start expanding your factories, follow these tips. First, leave more space than you think you need to build. This map is huge, and your factory will keep expanding throughout the course of the game. Give plenty of space to run belts and place buildings, more space than you think you need. Also plan to go vertical. If trees or rocks are in your way, build a multi-story factory to hold everything. Not everything has to be on the ground. Utilize customizable signs and custom paint swatches to identify different sections of your factory or make notes about how much a certain belt should be carrying. Satisfactory is not only an automation game, but also an exploration game. The handcrafted map is gorgeous and has a ton of biomes with little details. It's rewarding to explore, and you might even pause to take some screenshots with the expansive photo mode. But exploring in general is highly rewarded. You'll need to explore at least a little bit to access some of the more rare materials. While the starting areas are full of the basics like iron, copper, and limestone, many mid to late game materials require a bit more effort to discover. But exploring isn't useful only for finding those mineable resources. There are a number of limited resources that aren't required to complete the game, but will make your experience that much more easy and entertaining. Hard drives can be collected from crash sites and scanned in the MAM to unlock alternate recipes. These recipes can sometimes be far more efficient than the base recipe for something, or allow you to skip certain annoying items in a production line. For example, most players try to get rid of screws from their production line as early as possible using alternate recipes because they're just annoying to work with. Mercer spheres are used in MAM research and construction to create one of the coolest features in the game, the Dimensional Depot. This basically unlocks cloud storage for your factory parts, and it's incredibly useful, especially when exploring the world, as you can draw from that storage to build from. Somers loops are used in production amplification, which is literal magic. You can put them into machines and they output more items than they normally would, while costing no extra input materials. This is really useful for complex final parts, like the parts you need to send to the space elevator. And finally, you'll find 3 different colors of power slugs. These can be handcrafted or manufactured into power shards, which are used to overclock machines. Overclocking takes more power, but increases the amount of a product that a building can handle, which is nice to make a more space-efficient factory. If you didn't pick up on it, combining Somers loops with making power slugs is a great idea. Since power slugs are a limited resource, you'll be able to create more power shards than you normally would be able to if you put a Somers loop into the machine that's creating those power shards. There are a few other collectibles, references, and interesting obstacles that you'll encounter as you go through the game, but I'll let you discover those yourself. I will say that all of these special items as well as regular resources can be scanned for by using the object scanner, which can help you locate hard to find items that are hidden in small caves that you might not ordinarily discover. Miscellaneous tips. There are a lot of little tips that will make this game more fun, so here are a few random things I think you should know, that the game may or may not tell you. A lot of these tips are in my other videos, so if these are helpful to you, maybe scroll through my channel and see what else you can learn. You can't lose. Unlike other games, there's no such thing as losing in Satisfactory. You can't get your game into a true fail state where you just get stuck. The game is designed to be chill, so just enjoy your time playing and don't stress too much about it. The biggest danger is playing for too long and accidentally staying up all night working on your factory. You can die in the game, sure, but you don't have to load up a previous save unless you want to. You can just respawn back in the hub for free. There are a few options for how hardcore you want to be with death. The first is to have a death box spawn where you died that contains your inventory, and you'll have to go back to retrieve it. But don't worry, there will be a map marker, so you can easily find it again. Another option is to keep your gear, which will make it way easier to retrieve the other items from your inventory. You can also just select to respawn without losing anything. If you'd rather focus on just chilling and don't really want dying to be that much of an inconvenience, I would recommend this option, because the closest to a fail state you can get is dying somewhere dangerous or hard to reach and then having to try to cobble together the supplies required to get there. It's definitely doable, it's just potentially annoying. No mods and no crossplay. Chances are you've seen some crazy builds on Reddit or Twitter. Plenty of these are made completely vanilla, but some things are only possible with mods or with additional modifications to the game files that are only possible to do on PC. The devs have said these things aren't possible on consoles, and it's also the reason that there is no crossplay between consoles and PC.
Will there be crossplay between console and PC? In short, no. I know.
Though there will still be crossplay between consoles. It's unfortunate, and maybe there will be a solution in the future, but PC's freedom and flexibility make it basically impossible to reliably do crossplay between these platforms. If a console player tried to connect to a PC session that had an expanded object limit, it might just explode. Upgrade in place. Most buildables in the game that have multiple tiers can be upgraded in place without having to rebuild them completely. As you progress through the game, the most impactful of these will be belts. Tearing down all your tier 1 spaghetti sounds pretty rough, but thankfully if you just put a higher tier belt on your build gun and hover over the old belt, you can just press the build button to replace it and you'll be refunded the materials. This also works on things like power poles and miners as you unlock upgraded versions. It even works on splitters and mergers, allowing you to replace them as long as all of the connections are valid. Build a power pole on an existing line. Don't interrupt your power grid when trying to expand. You can add a power pole to an existing line without unbuilding anything at all. Put a power pole on your build gun, hover over a power line, and you'll notice that it magnetizes to the cable. Then press the build button to attach it, and you can then move it around to where you like, all while seeing a preview of where the new lines are going to be. Then just build again to place it. Tearing down your power lines can be super disruptive, so this is a good feature to have in your tool belt. The zip line is super good. Still somewhat early in the game, you will unlock the zipline tool. This allows you to ride on power lines, and it even works going up. When you unlock power towers though, it gets even stronger, almost to overpowered territory. Because power towers can be built really far away compared to other buildables, and they create extra long power lines. You can use them in combination with the zipline to traverse anywhere on the map with ease, including up sheer mountainsides. This can make exploration so much less painful and make it easier to build infrastructure in tough areas because you're literally bringing power with you. Use blueprints. Once you unlock the blueprint designer, you can get rid of a lot of the tedium involved in building repetitive or large setups. This lets you build a setup once, save it as a blueprint, then build the entire thing in one click later. You can even set up recipes and overclocking. If you want to chain blueprints together, you can use the Blueprint Auto-Connect build mode to link belts, pipes, and train tracks, which makes it way easier to build giant factories and connect everything reliably. They're not just useful for factories either, they're also useful for decorations that would be complex to build over and over again. If it's repetitive, make a blueprint. There is so much more I could say to get you started in Satisfactory, but I think you should discover the rest for yourself. This should be more than enough information to get you comfortable with playing this on your console, but if you have any more questions, you can leave a comment on this video or look at the game's wiki at satisfactory.wiki.gg to find a ton of great information and resources. Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked this video and want more guides, be sure to subscribe to Satisfactory News, and you can even check out all my previous videos that I've been doing for 6 years.